We just go. Oh, there
Here we go. All right, let's start.
we go. Okay, we'll start it. You'll go live.
Yeah, perfect. Hello, everybody. I can see we're got Cassandra. Hi, Cassandra, Kelly, Sarah, Stacy, Heather, Stacy, Patricia. Hi, everybody. We'll just give people one more second or so to join in. I think we've got about 30 folks, beautiful folks from Saskatoon joining us this morning. And we will do our mini webinar here. And we are recording, so please let us know if you're not okay with recording, because there's a few folks that haven't had a chance to or didn't have a chance to come this morning that we wanted to make sure got the opportunity to get filled in on what we've been up to. So why don't you say hello in the chat? I think you guys all know each other. And Jill, since it's all folks in Saskatoon, I'm super good with, we want to give everybody the allowed talking privilege and camera privileges. If you guys want to put your stuff on, so it's a little bit more cash for sure. Okay, we're at 26 folks. Awesome. And I'm starting to see your beautiful faces appear on my screen. And we'll just give folks 30 more seconds and we'll get the party started. All right. Awesome. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. 25 folks already. Okay. Well, in trying to make sure we take full advantage of your time with us, we're gonna get going right away here, and Jill's gonna be online if there's any technical issues or if there's folks that are late coming in, so that we're not interrupting the flow. So welcome everybody. My name's Alina Turner, and I'm joining you from a wintry Calgary, Mohkinstsis, which is Treaty 7 territory, and thank you for welcoming me to yours. We wanted to bring folks together because we have been doing some interesting work in Saskatoon with all of your amazing support, and we're almost at enough of a progress point that we can start showing you some results. So even though we're still in the work, it's really cool to be able to start sharing some of the insights, because this is how systems work. They're live, they're complex, they're emergent and adaptive, so it doesn't make sense to so-called finish something before we start introducing some of the new information into the network. So wanted to say hello to those of you that don't know much about the project. I won't spend too much time on it because I want to make sure we get into the network analysis for your social safety net ecosystem locally and start sharing those insights. But we do want to make sure we're grounding all of you in a little bit of detail around the project, enough to interpret what we've been up to here. So I will start with just a brief introduction about HelpSeeker. So HelpSeeker is a social technology company. We're based out of Calgary, but we have about 32 full-time team members across Turtle Island. So we have folks that work in different communities and get the privilege to work with folks in Saskatoon as part of a partnership with Flow Community Projects. And Flow Community Projects has been engaged by SHIP, the Saskatoon Housing Initiatives Partnership, to do some work in the development of coordinated access for the housing and homelessness sector. But to do that well, of course, the partners need to understand a little bit more about the ecosystem, to understand exactly what they're coordinating and who they're coordinating, and how coordination is already happening in Saskatoon as well. So that's where we came in. Part of our work is to map systems and understand that complexity. Oh, and I hear somebody coughing, and I'm sorry that you're not doing well. If folks don't mind just muting themselves just until we have Q&As, that'd be awesome. And hopefully that's not a bad cold there. So that's the context for our work in Saskatoon on this project. With systems mapping work, though, there's a bit of data involved and technology involved, as you can imagine. So that's a little bit about our expertise on this. So to understand the local ecosystem that's involved in housing and homelessness, you need to understand a little bit more than just housing and homelessness. So what we did is took on a systems mapping exercise to get the basics moving as part of this coordinated access effort. So we had to identify organizations operating in the social safety net, identify programs associated with them. And we were also asked if we could start to get deeper into some of the fields such as eligibility criteria, such as hours of operation, et cetera. As you can imagine, the more granular you dig, the less publicly available information is findable. So it's a bit of a cat and mouse, and in a way you need to get going on some of this stuff, but you also need to bring that insight back to the community and say, hey, did you know only a certain percentage of programs had publicly available information? So maybe if we want folks to have better sense of who does what and what hours of operation we have, an easy thing might be to kind of have better transparency around some of these basics. And what we find is when we do that, it reduces some of this bottlenecks of referrals, because people are just finding the information more easily. So then they're not bothering some of your intake staff for things like, oh, I'm not actually eligible for this program. So if they know that, then that kind of stuff helps. So there's low-hanging fruit when it comes to systems mapping that can really support some of these easier ways of doing the work, so that we can have more impact where it matters. So there's a grounding hypothesis in terms of what SHIP is looking to achieve when they talk about coordinated access, and it's really about supporting organizations and supporting the folks that organizations are serving to have a better referral flow in the community. The hypothesis here is that if we have better information about organizations, we're going to get better referrals. If we get better referrals, we're going to reduce some of these bottlenecks and frustrations on the case management staff that's already overworked, and on the clients that are likely already stressed out about their crisis situation, for instance. So better referrals equals better outcomes, to really boil it down. Of course, it's way, way harder to do in practice, because we all live in very, very complex ecosystems that have tons of feedback loops and tons of moving parts and lots of people involved. And when you have people involved, you have lots of opinions, lots of perceptions, etc. So it's I don't want to make it seem like it's this circular one direction feedback loop. It's really complex. That's why we need to map that complexity and understand it a little bit better. So the technique we used in this particular instance is to come to you guys as the experts in the community and start to mine your expert knowledge on the ecosystem, and then come back and present it as a visualization back to you to help you understand the community network better as a whole. So it's by no means a fait accompli. It's a living network, as you can imagine. So today is really a bit of a touch point rather than the finished work, because it's probably never going to be finished. It's a living organism. It lives and breathes. It's what we call that social organism as a whole. So we're trying to understand it at a deeper level, but intuitively, this is probably going to make sense to you as well. So I'm challenging us to put our systems thinking hats on, our systems transformation hats on, as we start thinking about how this information can support your day-to-day work and your work as a community in terms of advancing systems change efforts and identifying some of these opportunities to enhance the network's impact. For those that are wondering, why are we talking about networks when we're talking about systems change? A little bit about this is is I think good for context. And we have networks everywhere in life, everything from the plants and the biochemistry of organisms, and we can even see networks and mathematically in most analyses of complex systems, for sure. There's always these patterns that recur in nature and living and non-living organisms too. So I don't want to wax poetically about this. What we do know is when an ecosystem is fragmented and has these pockets that might not be fully plugged into the whole organism, sometimes there's challenges that emerge. There's inefficiencies, there's bottlenecks, there's conflict, right? So things intuitively that we know. When the networks are really centralized, though, it's great for consistency and kind of that hierarchy is really clear and everything seems to be efficient when you look at this from that perspective. But what we also know when we have centralized networks is that sometimes there's also bottlenecks because that central entity, that central node really, if that one's not working well, then not every other part is going to be dependent on it as well and doesn't work very well. So what we ideally want is we want them dense, we want the information and people to flow well and have those positive outcomes as a whole. So that's the ideal situation. But no, there's no such thing as an ideal system as we can imagine. So all we can do is understand how it is today and understand the dynamics involved, and then try to introduce interventions to move it in a desired direction. But know that these are living. So they're not, what might be the network today might not be the network tomorrow. A new program is introduced, a new policy is introduced, a policy changes. All of these things shift, which means that we need to understand these as these living organisms, these living networks. So how do we understand it a little bit more systematically than just hypothesizing about it? Well, we do that through starting to visualize the network and having conversations with these analyses as ways of articulating what might be happening in the community in a more tangible way. If you can't see it, you can't understand it, you can't analyze it. So there's two examples here of network maps just to get you thinking about nodes and lines and connections and relationships rather than these kind of binary analyses of networks where we just see charts and rows and columns in Excel. We need to think of this as a neural network, as a brain rather than a chart, if you will. So the awesome thing is that you can see insights that you wouldn't have seen before. So with all of that preamble, we wanted to present to you the results of your guys' network analysis. So a couple of caveats on this around how we did it and how we collected this data. If you recall, we initially mapped those 394 organizations. All of those received an invitation to participate in the network and provide some additional details into this data. So far, and I say so far because we're hoping from today you're gonna tell all your friends how cool this is and get to the 394. But so far we've got 20 organizations that are part of the network and provided us data that I'm going to be able to show today. The cool part is how much value, even out of those 20, we were able to get so far. And again, so far, because hopefully over time, we're going to get closer and closer to ideally 100% visibility of what's happening in Saskatoon. So a little bit of the types of organizations that participated so far. So we've got 20 organizations, and here's the types of service categories that they reported delivering. So everything from inclusion and belonging all the way to pets and animals and language and translation. And there's a lot more detail under each of these categories, but just to give you a sense of how diverse the fingerprint of these organizations was. And you can see also that no organization only served one type of service category. Everybody did more than one thing, except for there's language and translation, environment and nature. And I venture to guess that there might be more things in there once you see the map, if you were one of those organizations that you might say, hey, actually, maybe we do more than that. So that's a really cool way to understand this. We also wanted to understand a little bit about the connections between organizations as well. So we looked at referrals, and we looked at these on a monthly basis, because again, doesn't really help you on the day-to-day if you don't understand how these things are shifting on a month-to-month basis, because there's things like seasonality, there's changes in even the pandemic, for instance. The different waves have much more nuance than a year-long analysis can provide. So it's much more interesting to look at this on a more regular basis. So we've got the referrals here, and you can start to see some patterns as well, and where some of these organizations lie currently. See currently, because again, this is just a first glance, and as we get more information, this is going to grow, and you're going to have even richer data to look at. So a little bit about referrals per month. Just a little bit further here too, in terms of the organizations and the patterns that we saw just within this. If you look at these 20 organizations as a mini network, we can see that they had 107 organizations that refer to them, right? So you've got these 20 in the middle, you've got 107 that are referring to these 20, and they had an average of 2.7 connections to other organizations. So they radiated 270. So you can imagine, hopefully you can imagine it, but I'm going to show you what this actually looks like. So far the participation is about 6% of the social safety net ecosystem in Saskatoon is represented in the respondents. But even there, we can see some really, really interesting things. 270 connections already. The network connectivity so far, and again, so far is about 2.4%. And you're going to say, well, that's low. But remember that we're only at 6% coverage of the entire network. So as that network coverage grows, so should that network connectivity as well. The more connectivity we have, that means the more, obviously, the more connected we are, the better we are at working together, at least in theory, right? We don't know anything about the quality of the connections at this juncture, but as we grow the network, we can start to mine it for these different insights as well. So I wanted to show you guys what this looks like, and then we'll go through and see some of these patterns in more detail as well. So hopefully you can see that. I'm going to actually make that a little bit bigger so that we can really appreciate this situation in more detail. So what you're seeing here is the service referral network for Saskatoon. And the cool part is that there's a commitment from the funder of this to make this this type of information part of the kind of the broader dashboard for Saskatoon as well. So don't feel like you need to take big screenshots, et cetera. We're going to be able to circulate this with SHIP's permission and as it takes shape. But in the meantime, I guess you can take screenshots, but I'm just saying there's more coming. So this is a live piece, so you can kind of interact with it and take a find yourself in here. For instance, let's take a look at eFry, and you can start to understand the connections that each of these organizations have to other organizations. So you're going to say, okay, whatever, what do I care? What's interesting is when we start looking at the self-reported, this is what these organizations said they do for other folks, and what other folks said these organizations do for them. So we can start to understand how the domains of service are expressed in this network mode. So let's take a look, for instance, at housing and homelessness, because that's an interesting one. And so this is the mini network, if you will, of housing and homelessness organizations. And what I'm showing, so here's, you can You can have the number of organizations and the incoming and outgoing referrals to them. You can see some of who they are. Keep in mind, this is just a live, a living thing, right? So if we get more data, we can change, this will change. And here's the organizations. If you wanted to understand, for instance, who receives referrals and who sends referrals, we can do that as well. So we can toggle between these things. So you can see that Crocus is one of the bigger the dot, obviously, the more referrals are reported that they provide. So this is the, I'm giving you an example of these organizations, but you can interact with this and find your organization as well. And you can see that we've got some interesting kind of deeper hubs here. But let's take a look at information referral navigation, which is interesting because this is the one that is doing lots of the navigation within the system. And you can see here, Saskatoon Interval House sends referrals to 15 organizations. And if we look at the other way, we can see that Saskatoon or Prairie Harm Reduction receives referrals from 3 organizations. So it changes quite a bit when you look at the to and from. When we put them all together, to and from, we can see that Saskatoon Interval House has this kind of really central role in this information referral system navigation. Again, as reported by these 20 participating organizations so far. So this will change. Going back to the system as a whole, or maybe I'll show you justice and legal, but just so you see that there's also ones that are, kind of off on their own here. And I bet as we grow the network, there's no way the Saskatoon Police is going to be so far off. I think if we continue to grow this out, this is going to fill up quite a bit more. So ideally, each of these domains is going to look more like this, right? When it's fully filled out, and we can start to zoom in and out of it and look for much more nuanced information. But to give you another view on this, what we've also done is taken a look at, again, this is as reported to our project. We can start to understand a little bit more detail, and sorry if you're from Saskatoon Interval House that I keep talking about you. We can start understanding some of the to and froms as well when it comes to each organization looking at more the traditional view, right? Because again, we're not all going to appreciate looking at the network. We want to also see, okay, where can I refer for this, right? Where can I refer for that? And who's sending what to whom? So there's a little bit more information here as well, just shown in a more traditional matrix chart as well that you can, again, interact with. We've got, and I'm trying to show you all this stuff so then we can start looking at or getting your guys' feedback as well. But we also wanted to map this by geography as well. So I wanted to give you a sense when we zoom into this, a little bit about the geographic distribution here as well. And I know this is really dense, so let's take a look at childcare maybe. Okay, and we can just move this a little bit. There's lots of little tools in here, and we can start to understand again these patterns from a geographic perspective. It tells us a little bit about how if we're sending clients to and from, how might they also be moving in across time, not time, sorry, because we don't have the time dimension yet, but we could across space as well. So we have that. I wanted to show you guys, sorry, not this one. Just the basics around the actual referrals here as well. So inclusion and belonging, the referrals per month. So the same thing that I was showing you in the screenshots in the presentation as well. Just so again, we have these in the more traditional in the more traditional way as well. So that's where we're at today. I put some of the kind of explanations in here as well so that we can understand a little bit about how to interpret this if you wanted to get deeper. We also put, and again, we had this bias around the housing and homelessness angle because SHIP is the big kind of push in this analysis. But again, looking at the overall network, for instance, we can see that we had that 2.7 network density in the overall network. But when we looked at housing and homelessness, we can see a denser network, which is interesting as well. And the more we map this, the deeper some of these understandings become. And then, of course, the next step is who cares, right? If we understand this in a new way, are we going to do something differently because of it? So I wanted to give a bit of an update to those of you that participated in this, and thank you for this. I hope this is going to be a useful tool for the community in your systems change efforts. But I also wanted to make sure you knew that this is something that should be living and breathing as the community continues to evolve and change. And the better data we have, the more interesting insights we can get, and the more interesting next steps we might generate as well. So as an important consideration back to the work at hand, and I'll go back to my deck to wrap up my presentation and turn it over for Q&A. We wanted to, again, give you this type of analysis to really get your thoughts going on what this is going to mean for working as a cohesive social safety net ecosystem that has these goals of improving the well-being of Saskatoon residents and non-residents that might be new to the community. And what does it mean if we are going to increase our coordination and increase our information sharing, increase our work together? Does this give you any ideas on what that might mean on a practical level? You know, here's your food and nutrition one. Does it paint a different picture of the kinds of connections that we might want to build in partnerships? Does it build a different type of understanding of the types of referral patterns that we might want to consider on a go-forward basis? And does it give you any ideas of the types of services that your partner organizations might be providing that maybe you didn't know they provided and you might want to find out more about as well? So this in summary is where we're at. I think I'm like right on time with my presentation here. We wanted to give you this preliminary analysis just to show you that there's these specific networks that are emerging, and there's clearly some that are still needing to be grown. There's also potential opportunities to dig into areas that may be fragmented that we want to bring into the network further. And there's this piece that jumped out at us, preliminary, I want to say, but there's disability organizations, when we look deeper at which ones were more fragmented than others versus more clustered. And it seemed that there was a couple, not a couple, but out of the sample that we had, the ones that are delivering disability supports that we may want to either engage further and understand further, or there might be an actual fragmentation that we need to dig in deeper and kind of see if we can bring them closer into the greater whole in some shape or form and support the breakdown of those potential silos. But all we know, like I said, is these are preliminary, and as Saskatoon's network grows, the data is going to change and the insights are going to be much more richer, but this gives us a starting point for conversation. So our next steps, like I said, we're going to support you in continuing to grow your network. So we're going to be continuing this effort to map the system. You're going to have the opportunity to claim your organization in the network. So you control, if you recall, we asked you to provide kind of one-off data, if you will. imagine having that as a live form, that if you change your what you provide and you want to let the network know, you can do so live. So that's going to be something we are going to be introducing as we kind of continue this process out. And I also wanted to offer up as well, if you are an organization that participated in this, some of you requested what was called a service menu. So I want to make sure you know that that's we didn't forget about that. We would be reaching out to you guys to offer that up, and we'll offer it to everybody as well, because I think it's a worthwhile consideration to understand kind of how to classify services in a way that's easily understandable to users and in easily understandable to partners, to get some of this common language going in the network as well. So look for an email from our team to do that, and you'd be looking to meet with me. So there's, like I said, there's not a huge network. So as a starting point, so if we get this right, it can really do a really nice job to get the Saskatoon movement happening on this process to have yourself a really cool systems map that's live and living and breathing with your community as well. So that's it. Thank you. I got my contact email there as well, but please feel free to reach out to myself, as I'm your account manager, your community success kind of person in charge of supporting Saskatoon. So I also happen to be the co-founder, and this is my life's obsession. So anybody who wants to ever talk to me about data, impact, outcomes, service design, all of that type of stuff, I love learning about you guys and learning about your work, because that's how we get other communities to shift practice as well. It's this co-learning, co-sharing approach. So definitely this is an open invitation, and there's no kind of no holds bar on that access to myself and the team. Thank you, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and take you up on your questions, critiques, comments, etc. And I'll open it up here, and I see we do have one question. Can we get a list of referral agencies that are taking referrals for housing placement? So absolutely, that's a possibility. In the live version of this, so when the organizations are able to claim their listing, they can maintain a live what do you call that? Not occupancy. The occupancy is one. Availability. They can maintain an availability of and whether they're taking it or not taking referrals, that they can kind of turn off and on based on their availability. Absolutely essential. So we don't have that in what I showed you today, but we will have it in the claim listing features, so that communities know, hey, that's cool, this program's a perfect fit, but it's not taking intakes currently. That will save you probably a lot of pain in terms of referrals, I would imagine. So thank you for the question there, Dion. All right, other questions, thoughts, ideas, critiques? Useful, interesting, not interesting, any of that would be super welcome feedback. Okay, I think we answered that one. I got another one. How do we get more agencies involved? Laura, did we coordinate this? Great question, Laura. We are going to leverage your networks to get the network growing. So the best way to grow your network is to tap your network. It's actually in science, and everybody on my team makes fun of my obsession with network science, but it's a true thing, right? It's the whole referral. When you tell somebody about a good service, it's, I think on average you tell 7 people about something. That's called the network effect, and it grows exponentially. So as you guys learn more about this and you see, you're like, I see where they're going with this. I can see how this is going to be useful. I can see where this is going to take us and how useful this might be. Cool. You're gonna get a bunch of cool ideas that you're going to tell us, so that we make sure we're giving you data that's going to be useful in your guys' work. So again, that's hence my please come tell me if you want to talk more, because we grow our knowledge base and the value of the data with your input. So things like telling me, hey, will we be able to see availability? That's a network effect. The other network effect is when you go to your community and say, there's this thing that SHIP is doing and HelpSeeker supporting that I think is going to be maybe a game changer for us. And we need to get everybody engaged in that. So I will definitely be following up with all of you guys today with the link to the forum again, so that you guys pass this around, and next time we meet in another month, the network is hopefully going to be double, triple, 7 times larger. Again, the types of things we can do are going to be way, way, way more powerful. So by that time, we're doing the claim your listing, which is the network's going live, right? We've already got these organizations engaged and bought into it. So the best thing you can do is pass this around and tell your friends, right? Tell your colleagues about this and get them to fill this out. The other interesting thing is within your organization, what's fascinating, and we did this in Penticton, is that not everybody's view of the network is the same. So out of the same organization, somebody might have a network where they refer a bunch of people for rental subsidies, but only that one person knows about it. And let's say the other program doesn't know about it. So don't think that just doing it once per organization is like not a waste. Let me rephrase. Don't think that doing it more than once for the organization is a waste, because actually you're mapping your own organizational referral network within your organization. And that's fascinating as well. So lots of people don't have this like comprehensive, like, here's where we send people for this and that. This is a really good opportunity to get that mapped within your own organization. So external and internal, please share widely. The deeper we go, the richer this is going to become and more successful. Oh, Patricia says, love it. Awesome. Good. Hopefully you can feel my excitement as well. But yeah, it's a viral thing, right? So hopefully, I know, and I shouldn't say it's an easy thing to do. I know it's not, right? It's getting you to think about these things in a new way, but I think it's intuitive to us in the social sector. We're always thinking about connections. We're always thinking about how everything is interrelated. If we think about the way that we support clients, it's all about holistic well-being. So, why would we not understand that as a organism ourselves, as a broader system that's trying to do things in a new way and in a different way. So hopefully that answers that. Any other questions and comments, concerns? Like I said before, this becomes your guys' asset as a community, your systems planning asset. So, we'll definitely be sharing this thing. You can play around with it. You can, fill your boots. The more people use it, then the asset or that data thing that I just showed you, that too is a actor in the network and supports you guys in thinking differently as well. So please use it as you see fit. Know all these limitations of it. We'll put all the limitations, right, because it's a live document, right, if you will. But just because it's not perfect doesn't mean we shouldn't be thinking about it and using it in our in our systems work. All right. Any other questions? And you can also unmute too, if you don't want to type. I think everybody's got permission. And if you don't, it's all good. It's a mini webinar. So I wanted to make sure everybody had a transparency on what the heck we've been up to here. And rather than kind of waiting until, a year from now when this stuff is not even that interesting anymore, you have this live asset to leverage in your work. All right. Well, last call for Q&A, and I'm hearing nada. So like I said, look out from me. There's going to be an email with the recording, the tool, the referral mapping tool that you can share as widely as you see fit, and access to the dashboard so that you can play around and kind of understand, fill your boots as well. Okay, awesome. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, guys. Bye.